Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. Hi guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining me in another continued discussion on Jean Harlow. So let's get right into this. This is going to be part 2 of a 3 or 4 part series entitled Legends and Tragedies, and this one is focused on another Jean called Jean Harlow, and she led such a fascinating life. I'm trying to figure out how she managed and survived with all those troubling issues that surrounded her. But okay, let's get right back into this. So where we left off last time was that she had married Chuck, and her mother had also married her boyfriend in 1928, or was it, I think it was 1927. And so in 1928, Jean Harlow began to work in bit parts as a film extra in various movies. And I believe that some of these movies were probably silent movies, such as Laurel and Hardy. And so, okay, let's get into part 2. So, life in Los Angeles, once she moved from Kansas to LA with her husband, it began to improve. And it was naturally a step up for Jean and her previous circumstances. And so, as you know, Jean married at 16, and it was quite typical for young ladies who were in kind of precarious situations and could not actually rely on education to further their career. They had to be married off. Unfortunately, that is how many people thought. And so, Jean befriended another young aspiring actress, but let me just clarify for you right now. When Jean moved to LA, she wasn't thinking or planning, allegedly, of becoming an actress. She wasn't. She did, however, befriend another young aspiring actress named Rosalie Roy, who one day happened to ask her for a ride to Fox Studios. It was a beautiful afternoon, and she had an appointment there, so why didn't she come along with her? And so it sounds like kind of a girlfriendy thing to do. I remember doing stuff like that with my girlfriends too, but I was never discovered. So just sitting there, Jean was waiting for Rosalie, and she was noticed. She was discovered. And so she was immediately approached by Fox executives, whom she told she was not interested. I guess it was all very new to her, and she was taken by surprise, and it overwhelmed her. And so, considering the eventual height of her fame, this incident is so ironic. Nevertheless, she was given letters of introduction to Central Casting, and based on that experience, I guess it got her thinking, you know, maybe there's something in this. And so having a friend in that field would have made her also interested and excited as well. So a few days later, after giving in her resume, Rosalie Roy bet Jean that she didn't have enough gumption or nerve to actually get in there and audition. And so that really set Jean on edge. She knew just what to say to her friend to give her that push. And so obviously Rosalie really believed in her. And so they made a bet. And so unwilling to lose this bet, and pushed by her mom, who had followed Jean to Los Angeles, Jean went to Central Casting signed under her mother's maiden name, Jean Harlow, and it's basically history from there, an up and down, topsy-turvy history, but that is where it all started. And using her mother's maiden name, was that even legal or binding? It certainly could not have had the same connotations that it might have today, right? So in 1928, after calls from casting and rejections, Mom pressed her daughter into accepting a studio job. So Jean appeared in her first film, Honor Bound, which was produced in 1928, and she starred, or not starred, I don't know how you want to word this, as an unbilled extra. Her name didn't even get on the credits. For $7 a day, plus lunch included. And it's a cute little setup, right? And so that was common pay for such work. And so this incident, this start, led to a wage increase after she was done with that to $10 per day. And other bit parts in films like Moran of the Marines and the Lost Charlie Chase film, Chasing Husbands. And so in December, Jean signed a 5-year contract with Hal Roach. So this would have been just months later. And with Hal Roach Studios for $100 a week, which is a step up from $10 a day, I would imagine. So she had bit roles in 1929's Laurel and Hardy shorts, such as Double Whoopee, Liberty, and Bacon Grabber. And it was actually Bacon Grabber that gave her a co-starring credit on screen. Wow. And that is a big deal. Even in the 50s and 60s, that was a big deal, right? And so in March, she partnered with Roach. Roach Studios at the time, and I remember reading from other celebrity stories, it was a stepping stone, a first step up. It wasn't the big picture, you know what I'm saying? It was a start. And so in March, however, she parted Roach Studios when they terminated her after she told them it was actually breaking up her marriage. However, was it really that was breaking up her marriage, or other issues like maybe alcoholism or narcissism? I don't know. I don't know what Jean was like. I know that she was very earthy and real, but I don't know what other issues she might have had, if any. I'm not even saying that she did have any. But what I'm saying is, when you get married young, and Marilyn Monroe followed the same pattern. You usually go 2 years and then it's done, right? So that was a move. When she was terminated, it was ultimately the move that would catapult Jean to stardom, eventually, slowly. In June of that year, Jean divorced Chuck and moved in with Mom and Marino Bello. So at first, Jean continued as an extra in films, and she landed a speaking role. Now, the other roles had not been speaking or had been silent, right? So she was moving along with the times. She landed a speaking role in Clara Bow's Saturday Night Kid. Now, guys, this was big, not only in terms of accomplishment, because many silent stars were suddenly out of work permanently when the talkies came into existence. And so the talkies changed everything in theater. The talkies were movies. So, the thing is that this was a great time for her to blossom and bloom and become noticed. So in that sense, it was also big. And what an incredible time to be starting out a career, right? In the middle of a big, huge changeover in the film industry. And so, okay, let's now focus on the years between 1929 and 1936. So this would mainly feature Hell's Angels and Platinum Blonde and Talkie Star. So in a nutshell, in a very capsulized nutshell, Jean was first signed by business magnate Howard Hughes, who directed her first major role in Hell's Angels, 1930. Now this would have been a very early talking film, and you can tell that the sound was so weird, but fascinating to listen to and watch, right? Oh, I have to watch that movie again. Anyway, after a series of critically failed films that came after Hell's Angels, and Howard Hughes' loss of interest in her career, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer bought out Jean's contract in 1932 and cast her in leading roles in hits that were built on comedic talent and her comedic talent. She had a natural comic spark, guys. She was, I guess it comes with the world of the silent films. She was natural. And it was part of her personality and part of her character and part of her on-screen persona. And I think this would probably have been one of the major traits that led her to become as famous and well-loved as she actually did. And probably not by everybody, but by many, a great many. And so Red-Headed Woman in 1932 was, I believe, a role that was written almost specifically for a character or a personality, just like Jean Harlow. So that came in 1932. After that, in 1932, was Red Dust, then Dinner at 8 in 1933, Reckless in 1935, and Susie in 1936. All wonderful movies, guys. Maybe not box sellers, all of them, but wonderful nonetheless. And so Harlow's popularity rivaled and surpassed MGM's top leading ladies like Crawford, Garbo, and Shearer. Jean Harlow topped these huge actresses, not on terms of their acting ability, but just on terms of popularity and appearance. She was not only a goddess symbol for men who drooled over how she looked with the platinum blonde hair, but she also established, as we were going to go over, a kind of a model for young American women to follow. And so, okay, let's go on with this initial phase after and during Roach Studios. Jean and the movie industry did undergo major transformations. And in 1929, Ben Lyon allegedly spotted Jean again, somebody else discovered her again, while filming Howard Hughes' Hell's Angels. And so, as they were already filming, that was a real opportune time for her to be passing by, right? And so, it's alleged that the cameraman, rather, Arthur Landau, spotted her and suggested Jean to Howard. Now, what do you guys think of these two contradictory allegations that each discovered Jean Harlow? Well, yes, on both counts, I think they both discovered her, and I am sure that Jean was noticed by a great many people. Either way, she was doing something right and happened to be absolutely at the right places at all the right times and with the right people. So I am sure that Mom advised her, and from time to time at least, and may have tried to act as an agent on her behalf. I can only imagine how excited her mother, the real Jean Harlow, must have been to watch her daughter achieve her own dreams. And so, okay, moving on to some of her associates, Paul Byrne and Howard Hughes. So at the time, Howard Hughes reshot many of his silents, and so he needed actresses to replace the silent stars that could not enunciate properly. You have to realize that the silent movies, some of these actresses and actors would have had horrible voices, completely untrained, and that you couldn't understand a word that they were saying, slurred speech, whatever have you. Accents, foreign accents. And Greta Nyson was one of those who had such a heavy and thick Norwegian accent that she was deemed unusable by the studio. And so, and I'm talking about MGM at this point. So Jean, therefore, screen tested one part because she could speak and enunciate beautifully and clearly, and signed a 5-year, $100 per week contract on October the 24th, 1929. And so during filming, Jean met MGM exec Paul Byrne. And so he was instrumental in her career. And I'm going to explain a little more about that right now. So Hell's Angels premiered in Hollywood at Grauman's Chinese Theater on May the 27th, 1930. Believe it or not, it sold out as the highest grossing film that year at the box office, topping Greta Garbo's talkie debut in Anna Christie. Now that was a wonderful movie, but she topped her. She topped her. And so I'm talking strictly sales, right? So Jean was actually caught up in and very much involved in the transformation of Hollywood as it shifted from silent films to talking ones. And this contract is a perfect proof that she was doing well with that. And so it is not surprising that Hell's Angels made Jean an international star. Unfortunately, though she did become popular, critics were not enthusiastic about her acting. And so the New Yorker saw her as awful. And Variety conceded that, quote unquote, it didn't matter what degree of talent she possessed. Nobody ever starred possessing what she had. And so, guys, these were both, each demeaning and terribly dehumanizing comments. There could have been something about her manner or mannerisms that contributed to such views, but they were very dehumanizing. And I really don't think any actor should need to put up with that. I don't think many of us can understand or appreciate how much hard work and dedication goes into acting, whether you're trained or not. So that's my take on it. So these undermining views, possibly precipitated by various defeated silent stars, deeply damaged Jean's future roles. And in spite of her success, Jean found herself as an uncredited extra in Chaplin's next City Lights, 1931. Why? And her appearance did not even make the final cut. Wow. I wonder why he did that. He cut her out, guys. So with no other projects, I'm sure she still got paid, but that would have been so devastating. Howard Hughes sent her to New York, Seattle, and Kansas City for Hell's Angels premieres. And so it was Howard again who stepped in to save the day for Jean. And so in 1931, Howard Hughes' company loaned her out to other studios, where she gained more attention in the movie The Secret Six, which starred Wallace Beery and Clark Gable. Yeah. Iron Man with Lou Ayres and Robert Armstrong, and Public Enemy with James Cagney. All wonderful movies, and I love all those celebrities and actors. She must have been so starstruck. And so even though these successes ranged only from moderate to hit, Jean was still mocked by many critics. And so Howard Hughes sent her on a brief publicity tour to bolster her career. But this was not very successful. And also, somewhat like Marilyn Monroe, after her, Jean dreaded making such personal and public appearances. There may have been a reason for that, or it may just have been part of her personality. And so, anyway, this is the end of part 2 on our discussion on Jean Harlow. And so I hope that you've enjoyed this video. And please do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.